Hi, my name is Josh Bachynski and welcome to SEO Hangouts. Today I have some very interesting leaks about the Payday Loans algorithm, and also I am broadcasting from my new office, you can see it behind me, at the scenic Bear Mountain Resort here in Victoria, BC, Canada. You can probably see the reflection in the window there of what it looks like out my window. So it's very nice, and I'm not in the phone booth anymore, as some people called it. So that's nice for me, and probably nice for the viewers who are tired of looking at that gross-looking wall behind me. So getting right to the SEO stuff that you all care about, because you don't care about my office. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Okay, so Payday Loans. The Payday Loans algorithm is kind of a catch-all name given to it by, I can't remember who it was, probably Danny Sullivan or Barry Schwartz, one of those guys, to encompass the set of algorithms that Google was putting out, that Matt Cutts originally said in May that they'll be putting out, to target various spammy niches. So there's various niches that they consider are spammy, Payday Loans being one of the main ones among them. And they're making algorithms, Matt Cutts said, designed specifically to look at those niches and make an algorithm. This is the first time, actually, they're making an algorithm to specifically target specific niches. And so the question on everyone's mind is exactly how does it work? So I've found some information how I think it works. I intend to make a larger video kind of showing my evidence later on, but I just wanted to kind of announce how I think it works so that everyone knows what's going on, and if they want to get it fixed, kind of where to start looking. And of course, you can always contact me if you want more information on that. Before I forget, my contact information, my email is joshbachynski@gmail.com. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/jbachins, JBACHYNS, and you can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski. So, I always got to do that before I forget, because otherwise I get to the end of the video and I forget. So the thing about the Payday Loans algorithm is that it came kind of on the heel of Penguin 2.0, and so a lot of people are not really sure exactly how that all worked. Penguin 2.0 came out on May 22nd, May 23rd, 2013. Then, only a short time later, on June 5th, the Payday Loans algorithm was officially rolled out and announced by Matt Cutts on Twitter. And then there was also correlative updates on the 11th, the 25th, and the 27th to 28th. Now, it looks like, in fact, the 27th to 28th were the biggest Mozcast dates in existence. So they saw the most turbulence on Mozcast, which is a piece of software that Dr. Pete runs, Dr. Pete Myers, from associated with Moz, SEO Moz, or now called Moz. And that was they track SERP turbulence over time to determine when a major ranking update has been put out, like Panda or Penguin. And they recorded the highest ever ranking changes on those dates, the 27th to 28th of June. And then also there were some, Matt Cutts did mention they're going to be putting out updates for that whole time, ending on July the 4th. And there was, Mozcast does report there was some ranking changes on July 1st to 4th as well. But those were much smaller and much more uniform, and so I personally suspect those were probably Panda, but it's hard to say. So anyway, so getting back to Payday Loans. So Payday Loans was released between June the 5th roughly and June 28th roughly. And Payday Loans was the first niche they seemed to go after, but then after that they seemed to go after different spammy niches. Sorry, that's my cell phone. After that, they seem to go after different spammy niches, various ones. So the question is on everyone's mind, okay, great. We kind of know when it was released, but what the heck does it look for? What the heck is it going for? So that is the main question. And I think I found some information that proves, or at very least gives some very strong evidence as to what it's looking for. And in essence, it seems to be the same profile as Penguin 2. In fact, it seems to be the exact same profile as Penguin 2.0. If that is the case, then Payday Loans is nothing more than Penguin 2.0 in disguise, or modified slightly for the linking profiles that you would see in these different spammy niches. You know, Payday Loans is going to have whatever it is, 78% unnatural links. The flower, selling flowers online is going to have whatever, 68% unnatural links. And it's these thresholds and these ratios that mathematically Google can approximate and then tweak the Penguin 2.0 algorithm to detect what sites are over-optimized or over-threshold. Now, I've already talked about Penguin 2.0 in one of my last videos, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I have a complete video showing the evidence there of what I think Penguin 2.0 looks for. In a nutshell, you can go back and look at that data if you want more proof. But in a nutshell, I use square quotes for proof because it's, as with any SEO experiment, it's somewhat anecdotal. But I do provide some good evidence to show what I think it looks like, what it looks at. Now, what that is an exact match domain or a partial match query domain with exact correlative backlinks. So, for example, if I was trying to rank redapples.com and I had 10 or 20 or 30% the phrase red apples in any variation, any form, even if it's a URL link in my backlink profile, that's exactly the kind of site that Penguin 2.0 would have hit. And we see lots of false positives that even hit brand sites like ets.org, for example, and salvationarmy.org. They were both hit by Penguin 2.0. And interestingly, as it turns out, that is the exact same thing that the Payday Loans algorithm seems to be looking for. For example, you can go to Dr. Pete's post, and he did an analysis on the biggest gains and the biggest drops on those dates. And if you go to moz.com, and if you search on moz.com the early look at Google's June 25th algo update, if you search that, early look at Google's June 25 algo update, find the article on moz.com. And when you go there, you'll see that he gives a couple examples. The second example is an auto auction example. And if you look at the top sites that were there, like iaai.com and autoauctions.gsa.gov and indianaautoauction.net, if you check to see where they are after the update, you see that they've some of them have fallen a little bit, some of them have fallen completely off the SERP entirely with the Payday Loans string of algorithms when it hit them. And then if you look at the backlink profile for these sites, a very clear picture starts to emerge where they all the ones that fell, all have high percentage of whatever their domain name is, whatever the ranking, some variation of that is in the text, is in the anchor text for the backlinks, and that's what they got hit on. So I'm going to be probably making a video that more clearly shows all that, spells it all out, but I just want to put that out there now. If you've been hit anywhere between June the 5th to June 27th to 28th, and maybe even July 1st to 4th, although I think that's probably Panda. So you need to have an SEO professional kind of disambiguate these signals and take a closer look at what's going on. But if you were hit between June the 5th and June the 28th, and you think you were hit by the Payday Loans algorithm, in my opinion, that is what it's looking for. So I hope that helps some people diagnosing their problems. And again, if you need any help diagnosing any SEO problem, you're always free to contact myself. Again, at joshbachynski at gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Okay, that's not the only leak I have. The only SEO tip and SEO knowledge is being thrown around lately. I have tons more stuff that's going on. So I'll go to my trusty list here. Oh, that was an earthquake. Okay, so the next thing. I have a few more tips and tricks that I want to mention that have been talked about by a lot of interesting people. The next thing is this one, is that internal PageRank sculpting is not dead. I know internal PageRank sculpting used to be all the rage and used to be the thing that everyone liked to do, and then it kind of fell off the wayside because it didn't seem to work anymore. Well, it seems now like it does work again. There are a lot of people talking about it, there are a lot of people doing it, and I've seen a lot of sites that have changed their internal linking structure. They used to have a big, massive pyramid going to the index page. They changed their internal linking structure, they got rid of a bunch of the pages, and suddenly their ranking dropped. That can only be because the internal pages, for those pages on head terms they were ranking for, not the long tail that the other pages were ranking for, but they removed the navigation. So that shows that internal PageRank sculpting still matters, it's still a big deal. It still can give you PageRank, and it can still help your pages rank if you have a lot, a couple thousand or tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of pages linking to each other. So here's some tips on what to do there. One, make sure you have a hierarchy or a set of hierarchies. You want a pyramid, you want a bunch of pyramids linking up to a higher pyramid. I'm talking about on-site, I'm talking about internal links. You do not want every page linking to every other page because that distributes the page rank across the site evenly. You don't want that. You want your most important pages to be the top of the pyramid. So I repeat, your most important pages that you want to rank the most, that you've optimized the best, internally you want those to be the top of the hierarchy, and you want all those link juice from pyramid pages to come up to those pages. And only use one text link. You do not need to use exact match query link in the body or navigation, especially if it's a commercial link, because that looks obviously manipulative. So what do I mean by that? Well, again and again and again, when I do SEO analyses for clients, I see that some SEO nitwit has told them to stick internal anchor text, this is all internal I'm talking about, into their pages as if they're dropping links on some blog article or some blog site, offsite. And so, for example, in my red apples example, I would have, the main navigation structure with you get green apples, blue apples, purple apples. And then in the text, I will also sprinkle in, somewhat artificially, and we have the best red apples, that'd be a link, and then we also have green apples link and a purple apples link. If these are ranking keywords, if these are the exact match query, the exact match that people are searching, and if they're commercial, don't do that, because that is penguin bait. That's keyword stuffing. That is more than you need, and I've seen it again and again and again. Sites that are hit by penguin often have problems like this. So you only need one link on the page. Preferably it's text. Preferably it's in the navigation. Or if it has to be in the text, the body of the article, fine, that's fine, but only have one, no more than two. If it's commercial keywords, specifically don't stuff it in there. If I'm on the redapples.com site, then I could just say, we have the best green apples. I don't even have to say green apples. We have the best apples here, and then I could just say green, red, blue. We already know we're talking about apples, so I can just have green, red, blue as links. We don't need to keep saying green apples, blue apples, red apples, because it gets overly optimized, manipulative. So, furthermore, it's also very important, remember, Google likes to think that the HTML, proper usage of HTML still matters to them. So you want to use what's called the logical character formatters, like a level like an H1 to H5, or other block level elements that define the topics. So you'd have an H1, and then you would have a paragraph tag underneath that. That's a very clear signal to Google that tells them what that section of text is, and if that's the only section of text in your main content, then what that page is about. And they do read it, and they do analyze it, and they have algorithms to determine all of that. So that's how you want everything all set up. You want, the keyword in the URL under the title, and then you want the keyword in the H1. Don't be over manipulative. If it's buy red apples in the title, you don't want to say buy red apples in the URL, and buy red apples in the title, and buy red apples in the H1. You want to try and vary up the text in those places. And again, you don't have to stuff your keywords, you don't have to stuff your articles on the site with over-optimized keyword text. And if you do that all correctly, and you have a good pyramids linking up to further pyramids, the tops of the pyramids should get the maximum amount of internal page rank. And this is PageRank Sculpting 101, and it still works, and certainly can help rank your site. Okay, so the next thing. This one has to do with submitting reconsideration requests. I know a lot of people who are submitting reconsideration requests. I have a lot of clients who I'm trying to help get out of penalty. They've come to me after they received a penalty, and I'm trying to help them. I do that for tons of clients. In fact, that's mostly what I'm doing these days because of Google's been so nice to demote and penalize so many different sites. So I'm trying to help these people out. But when we're doing reconsideration requests, we have to be very, very careful. And I notice not a lot of people are doing them correctly, so I wanted to mention this on here. That just disavowing the links isn't completely enough. They're getting a little bit more draconic in the sense that they want you to show, especially, let me rephrase, disavowing the links would probably be enough if you get enough links in the disavow and you're not in a highly competitive niche. If you don't get enough links in the disavow, and or if you're in a very competitive niche, you know which ones those are, the ones where black hat is rampant, then they will not, typically, the vast majority of the time, they will not accept your reconsideration request if you just submit a disavow and do not show any good faith that you've tried to delete the links, that you've tried to clean things up. Because if you haven't gone through the effort of deleting links, then they don't think that what they think that you're going to do, and John Mueller's mentioned this, and so many people have mentioned this, and I've seen the results. They don't think that you're actually showing good faith. They think you're just going to bulk link, disavow, bulk link, disavow, right? They want you to show good faith and that you're going to go and delete some of those backlinks. So this is what you need to do. You need to make a complete list of all the links you've contacted. Whether you actually go out and contact them is your business. That gets extremely expensive, especially because now people are charging anywhere from $5 to $30 to remove a link from their directory site or their article directory or their blog or whatever. But what you have to do is you have to document everything as if you've done it. So I would actually suggest you delete as many of those links as possible. If you've paid for 100 links out of your 1,000 link back profile, just stop paying for them and then they should get deleted, right? If those are the bad links. And of course, you have to have an SEO professional who really knows what they're doing look through your backlink profile to detect what links are actually bad or at the very least worthless. Because if you don't, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot by disavowing and deleting links that are actually powerful and helping you rank currently. And I've seen that a million times. So please, for the love of all the beer and hockey in Canada, make sure that you get an SEO professional to look at your backlink profile, such as myself or someone else who knows what they're talking about. And so then you need to make a complete list for the reconsideration request. Delete as many links as possible. Say it has a complete spreadsheet with the link on one side, the number of times you contacted them, and then say they did not respond, and then you've disavowed it. And on the ones you have deleted, say they did respond, and they've deleted it. And even on a good 20% of them, you can say they did respond, they said they delete it, waiting deletion, adding to disavow now. That way it looks like you've done a bunch of work. That way, the more you delete, the more work it looks like you've done. That way it's all documented. That way it's all in one spot. They can take a quick glance at it. Do not write them a novel. Do not paste this in the message. You have to make a Google Doc that you just paste that into the message, and so they can go and see that. They need to see, I cannot stress this enough, especially if you're in a spammy niche, especially if this is your second reconsideration request, or especially if you've been particularly naughty, they will not trust you anymore. They've been the web spam team has been instructed not to remove your penalty, and they will not remove your penalty, your manual penalty, until you do your due diligence and you show this documentation. You have to show this spreadsheet with all the bad links on this side. You have to find a good 80 to 90% of them. You have to find the vast majority of the bad links. You have to disavow the vast majority of the bad links. You have to delete as many as possible, and you have to show all of your work. You have to do that, otherwise they will not let you off the hook these days. Okay, so that's unfortunately what you need to do to get out of a reconsideration request. You have to make sure you get enough links in that disavow and enough deleted links. The next thing you need to do is you need to write a message. Now, I don't have a prefab template. A lot of people ask me, do you have a prefab template to send? I don't, because it would start looking old really quick. You have to write it custom. It has to sound natural. It has to sound honest, and you have to be showing good faith. But in that letter, all you have to say is be very brief. Say, I fired my previous SEO. I've researched. I know what white hat SEO is now. I promise I'll only use above board tactics. I wouldn't even say black hat or white hat, because that shows you know what you're talking about. Like they're not gonna believe your honesty, right? You want to try to appear as naive and as honest as possible and say, I didn't know what they were doing. I hired an SEO firm. They completely documented everything. As far as I know, we've removed all the bad links. I'd be more than happy to remove any more if there's any. I want to be completely above board. And here I've documented all of our efforts. We've worked for hours and hours on this. We don't have any more money to remove any more links. And we've deleted a good 20 to 30% of them of what we think are bad. Please, please, please. We're going to be good moving forward. Please, our business relies on this. Please remove our penalty. That has the maximum chance of success. The more links you delete, the more chance of success you have. And I've had many clients get out of a manual penalty well over 50% get out of the manual penalty. The only question is when, and the more links you delete and the more links in your disavow, the more likely you're going to catch all of the bad links, which no one really knows what those are. We just make educated guesses, but I have a program that shows me the useless links that are also most likely bad, and that is your best bet for starting to disavow those first. And being fairly aggressive with it. And again, you have to remember to use the domain : operator in the disavow file. The domain : operator, DOMAIN : So you disavow the links from the entire domain, because a lot of these blogs, especially if they're WordPress, they have different variations of articles on different URLs. And so if you only do one URL, you're not disavowing them all. And you have to make sure you get the disavow file right. It has to be in Unicode text. Cannot be an Excel file, cannot be a CSV file, even though they originally said it could be, it can't. It has to be a text file, .txt file. And yeah, so you have to make sure that it's all set correctly. So if you need any help with that at all, if you need any assistance with that whatsoever, by all means, you can contact myself. Again, I've done this successfully for dozens of clients at this point. And it's pretty conceptually easy to do. It's just a little bit of work, and you have to jump through a couple of hoops, but you can definitely get your site back. And even if you can't, there's other stuff you can fix. Even if you can't get that manual penalty revoked, I've still got plenty of customers who are now on page 1 again, even though they don't have that manual penalty revoked. Because usually it's a multiple algorithms that affect a site, and they seem to talk. They seem to every penalty or demotion multiplies the effect of all of them. So if you remove one, the other ones seem to get less drastic, and you can get back on page 1, even if you don't remove this panda or this penguin or this manual link notice. Okay, the next thing to talk about. So I came across this on July 1st. John Mueller mentioned in his Hangout, and I listened to it twice to make sure that I had it correct. He said, and this was very rare, and he said this is very rare that he would admit something like this, but he said, and I quote, that bad link reporting will, quote, definitely be coming to Webmaster Tools, and that we should expect that functionality soon. And I repeat, John Mueller said in his Hangout on July 1st, and I listened to it twice, and this is what he was talking about. So you can listen to it yourself and call me crazy, but he said that bad link reporting will, quote unquote, definitely be coming to Webmaster Tools, and that we can expect that functionality, some kind of bad link reporting functionality, to definitely be coming to Webmaster Tools soon. So I couldn't believe he said that. I listened to it twice. I was like, okay, great, wrote it down. So someone please listen to it and tell me if I'm wrong, because that's what it sounded like he was saying. So we'll have to watch for that, and that would be very interesting if they put that out. They already are sending many examples of bad links in their unnatural link notices. They're sending examples of bad links in these. So I've already seen, half a dozen to a dozen examples of those. So it'd be interesting if they put it in Webmaster Tools. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. That if they are going so far as to put the links they're catching in unnatural link notice reports or in Webmaster Tools, if they're that brazen that they are getting pretty darn good at detecting bad links. This should tell the savvy SEO of what algorithms they have a good chance of manipulating, and in this case, what algorithms they no longer have a good chance of manipulating. So I'll just leave that little tidbit of knowledge with yourself. Okay, the next thing. Is there such thing as a news site bonus? John Mueller has been asked this. Matt Cutts has been asked this. The short answer from John Mueller is no. Although fresh content is bubbled up for queries that deserve freshness, which is called QDF, queries that deserve freshness. So fresh new content is bubbled up for queries that, if the later is better, which is actually a fairly wide variety of queries when you think about it. Any product-related query, shopping-related query, event queries, any news queries, obviously, informational queries even. Queries like this for the latest and greatest information, or where the latest and greatest information or latest and greatest stuff would be useful to the end user, that content's bubbled up. So you have to have a date signal in it. So Cutts did mention that you should give it a last updated date. Remember at the bottom of web pages, it used to say last updated. if it can say that, so much the better. Or to give it a date signal. I like to put a date signal right in the title because that tells users that this is current information. So I would do a title like get 2013's best red apples at redapples.com, or get 2013's best red apples here, free trial, or something like that. Something sensational, something that will make them click, something enticing, and has a date signal right in it so they know that it's current and fresh and relevant. So make sure to have a date signal somewhere on that page. Freshness can matter, and it can matter for a wide variety of queries. Okay, the next thing. I don't know if you've heard, you may have not. There's been a lot of SEO updates recently, so this may have slipped under the radar for you. But there's something in Webmaster Tools called the Data Highlighter. The Data Highlighter is a programmatic, template-based way that you can highlight sections of your page and insert what is called the schema.org microformats, or otherwise highlight data and tell it what it is. So you know the microformats. It's the HTML you stick into your site to tell it that this is an author, this is a rating, this is a review, this is a product, this is an event, this is whatever. Now you have the ability to do a lot of that stuff right through the Data Highlighter. And so you can go into that in Webmaster Tools and highlight your data and tell Google whether this is a product, this is a blog, this is information, this is all this different kind of data types. Why would you want to do that, Josh? Well, I will tell you, listener. The reason why you'd want to do that is because the more clearly Google understands your website, the better you'll rank. Now, it's not going to give you like a 10-spot boost, but what it is going to do is it's going to very clearly tell Google what you should be ranking for, and hopefully will satisfy your searchers, your website users better. Because if Google knows that these are all product pages, then they're only going to serve it for those do queries, those action-based queries where people want to buy this or purchase that. Whereas the informational pages, those are going to rank for Red Apples review, or top 10 red apples, or information on red apples, right? Or even the middle queries where they just type red apples. And Google doesn't know, do you want information on this? Do you want to buy this? Something in the middle, you're thinking you want to read it and then buy. Those are the no-do queries, as they're known in the industry. So that's one reason why you want to use the Data Highlighter, to make sure that Google knows. Now, Google is pretty good already at determining, based on the text on your page, what every page is about. But if they're not, they can get confused. And as part of my standard SEO analysis, I check to see whether Google is confused, because they report in Webmaster Tools what data they think is on your site, and for what pages, more or less, or blocks of pages. So I would use the Data Highlighter for that. The other thing is that, remember, they are rolling out the Knowledge Panel. The Knowledge Panel, or the Knowledge Graph, is their new algorithm for their search, and they are going with the Knowledge Graph big time. Google Plus and the Knowledge Graph is the way Google search is going, with Google Places and Google Maps all wrapped in there, right? And so the way the SERPs look today, definitely it's not the way they looked last year or the year before, and it's just going to keep changing every year. And the more data they can mine, and the more sure the data they are, the more they'll display you in products, the more they'll pull up products, the more they'll pull up reviews, the more they'll pull up different featured articles, stuff like that. We've seen all that kind of stuff, and they're just going to keep doing that. So you will not even be eligible for that, or at least, let me say it a different way. You increase your percentage chance of being eligible for these different areas on the SERP to show up there, the more data you highlight, and the more accurately you highlight it. So this is why I suggest people get on the Data Highlighter now. I mean, it's like number 10 down on the list of SEO things to do. But if you've already done 1 through 9, you've got more time on your hands, use it. Use the Data Highlighter and submit all your products. Make sure you submit all your information, and make sure you highlight all the data so Google knows exactly what it is. It's fairly easy to use and fairly quick. Okay, and so probably the last tip for today is someone asked John Mueller also recently if the .mobi, the .mobi domains, how they're treated. Are they treated as just a mobile domain, or are they treated like any other kind of domain? And the answer is the .mobi domains are treated as domains just like any other. They're treated just like a .com, they're treated just like a non-location specific TLD. So just like a .org or .net, the .mobi, or just like any other. And they have no negative stereotype or connotation associated with them as maybe the .me or the .cc used to or does, right? So if that's the case, that's great news, because that means you can register your .mobi if I wanted to rank for red apples and .com, .net, .org, and all those were taken, I could also rank. I could also do redapples.ca, which would be a Canadian CCTLD, country code specific top level domain, which you would think would only rank for Canada, but that's not true. It'll rank for anywhere. If it's informational and it's non-Canadian specific, and I could even use a href lang to tell it, no, this is for English US, this is for English, UK, this is for English whatever. So it'll rank it for all those different places. So you can do that too, but it's a little bit more expensive. And that could already be taken as well. And the bonus there is that it would also bubble up for Canadian searchers. If it's a .ca, it'll bubble up. It will not demote for non-Canadian. It bubbles up for Canadian. That's how CCTLDs work. So you can also do that if you want to get red apples, but all the rest are taken. You can get redapples.ca or redapples.au or whatever it is. But if all those are taken too, or if you don't really want to be location specific because it'll confuse the branding, you could, if you want, register a .mobi because they have no, they're not specifically for mobile. It won't bubble you up for mobile, nor will it demote you for non-mobile. And it might confuse some people, but it might not. You can get some, floby.mobi or whatever. Depending on what your brand is and what your business goals are and how you want to present yourself online, it might be a valid option for you. So I just wanted to throw it out there. Now, before you all think of the EMDs you can register now, and you're rubbing your hands like this, I just want to remind you that EMDs these days do still have a bonus, not as much as they used to. If you look at the graph, Dr. Pete put a graph out recently showing the decline of EMD influence, and it has been sharply declining. But EMDs, if you check the SERPs, there still are quite a few exact match domains on each SERP, so they still have a ranking bonus. However, they are getting extremely dangerous. They still have a ranking bonus, but the risk of using them is increasing tremendously for two algorithms. One is the EMD algorithm. The EMD algorithm was released September 27th with Panda. As far as I can tell, it seems to be kind of Panda on steroids for exact match domains. That is really, really draconic and really, really mean. If it detects any kind of problem in your exact match domain, any kind of whiff of low quality or spamminess, it'll pull your exact match domain down. So if you have an EMD, you really have to be above board, squeaky clean, and you have to be totally satisfying the searcher intent. When they go to your site, they have to be completely satisfied as to what they see, and they have to terminate the searcher cycle. They cannot go to the SERP and go to your page and go back and click something else because they will turf your EMD off there even faster than they would turf some other site on there because they want to make sure that you're not spammy and you are satisfying the user. That seems to be how Panda works, or at least starts to trigger Panda or their usage metrics algorithms, and I have a lot more data on that I'll be presenting coming up in the future. The other thing is Penguin and Payday Loans, as I mentioned. The way that Payday Loans and Penguin seems to work is that, and I'll present more data on this as well, but I again want to give the shout out in case you're trying to fix this now. The way they seem to work is that if you have redapples.mobi and all of your backlinks are get the best red apples or redapples.mobi or whatever, even partial match, like apples are great, I like red, that's the anchor text, that's all your anchor text in the background. If you have too high a percentage of that, if you're over some threshold, which they determine for your niche, so it depends, some niches it could be 14%, some niches it could be 24%. They don't tell you what it is. And it does seem to vary. But that puts you at higher risk for Penguin 2.0 and what looks like Payday Loans as well, which just seems to be a Penguin 2.0 modified for these different niches with a different percentage of what the natural backlink profile looks like. Natural for those particular niches. So EMDs are still great. They still seem to have a bit of a ranking bonus, but they also have these risks. So I would pay very close attention as to, whether you really want an EMD anymore or not. Sometimes ranking brand is even easier and in fact even better with less risk, especially if the EMD you want, redapples.mobi, is $5,000 being sold by someone, and you can get, joshsapple.com for $10. The risk reward, in my personal opinion, does not make sense at that point. So EMDs are not that. I'm sorry, all you people out there selling EMDs. your real estate bubble has burst. Your EMD bubble has burst. I do not see that it's people have it's burst and it's just coming down now, and people haven't quite realized it yet. But so sorry for ruining your little party of your money making there. But if you have EMDs, I would get rid of them now before people realize how they're getting extremely risky, and at some point they're going to be almost completely useless. And if if your only options is a $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 EMD or a $10 brand, go with the $10 brand, because you can rank those all day long, and the EMDs are not really giving you that much of a bonus, unless the EMD is super for brand and also will give you that bonus, and you know you can be squeaky above board clean, and you know you can satisfy the end user. You know this for a fact because you have a great web team who can make great websites that are really satisfying to end users. Beautiful, fast, informative, funny, makes the user say wow every single time they go there. If you know you can do that, get the EMD. Otherwise, I don't think it'd probably be worth it for you. Okay, so those are all my tips and SEO secrets for today. I hope that helps you guys out. If you want more information exactly how this Penguin and Payday Loans thing is working, or how to do reconsideration requests, or any other SEO trial or tribulation, you can contact me again at joshbachynski@gmail.com, and I will provide you SEO service from the beautiful resort at Bear Mountain in Victoria, BC, Canada. Come down and visit. We'll go golfing. It'll be wonderful. Yes, so that's it, and I am tired, and now I will go drink beer. And bye.